Hey, good morning. Today I want to talk about the difference between a good and a bad therapist today because I just had a session with one of my clients and she was telling me about the therapy she's getting and how the things that were happening with the therapy. So I thought, okay, I think parents need to know what the difference is when it comes to having a good therapist and someone that is not so good, right? Because this is why so many people decide that therapy is not for them because they have these kind of experiences with not so good therapists. So I wanted to share the difference so that when you have a therapist, you know what to look out for, you know what to expect and what would help your child to progress. So let's get into it, right? So the first thing is just from talking to some people, I've learned that some therapists will not even let you in the room when they're dealing with your child. Now that is crazy to me because like how would you not let a parent in the room when you're giving therapy to their child? It makes no sense. That's not how I learned about therapy, and that's not how therapy works for or works for us or works for us. So I think that is a bad therapist. Someone who wouldn't let you in the room when they're dealing with your child is a bad therapist, because this is what a good therapist will do. A good therapist wants you in the room as much as possible. If anything, you the parents want your free time. You want the therapist to just handle everything and leave you alone, right? But a good therapist would ask that you spend some time with them doing therapy because they want you to learn what they're teaching your child. You don't want therapy session to be something that your child thinks of as, oh, something I do with that lady or that guy alone. You want it to be something that your child begins to learn is part of their life. So a good therapist wants you to at least be in the room, even if you're not involved in the beginning stage, but at least be in the room to see what they're teaching your child so that when they leave, you carry on with the process and your child begins to learn that, okay, this is something that is part of my life moving forward. It's not just something I do with that lady or that man who comes to the house. So that's number one thing. And I think it's crazy that some therapists actually tell parents not to be in the room. Like the client I was working with was telling me that, because I asked her and I said, is it like they don't want you in the room all the time because you're distracting the child? Or, and she said, no, she's never been in the room. She's never witnessed any therapy session. And I thought that was crazy. That is definitely a bad therapist and a bad therapy company for sure. So if you have something like that, you need to change them, or at least ask that they change their method. And if they don't, then change them for sure. Now, another difference between, I wrote it down, so I'm going to look down. Um, okay, so another difference between a good therapist and a bad therapist is you've noticed that your therapist is coming from the angle of they want to cure your child. I think this one will happen more in Africa, right? So if your therapist is coming from the angle of, yes, we can cure autism, that is a bad therapist off the bat, okay? Because a, a good therapist understands that, oh, thanks, girl. Yes, she agrees with me. Thanks, Falami. So a good therapist understands that autism is a lifelong condition, right? There's nothing like I want to cure your child of autism. If anybody promises you that, you should run away from the person, whether it's a therapist or whether it's some kind of doctor. Okay. What we're striving for is that they learn to live healthy, normal lives. That's what we're striving for. That's what we're trying to get them to do, not to cure the autism in them, because that's not going to happen. Maybe someday, I don't know, but not yet. And some autistic adults would even argue that why would you want to cure them? Like they don't even like it when you use words like that. So let's not use words like that. And you definitely do not want a therapist who is using words like that, like they want to cure your child, because what will happen is they subconsciously or consciously would treat your child from that angle of, I'm trying to cure you, I'm trying to make you normal, that kind of thing. And that's not a place of love, and that's not a place of acceptance. Okay. So what a good therapist would do is to first of all accept your child as autistic and just love the fact that your child is not just an autistic being, but they have other things about them that are wonderful. and treat therapy from the angle of what does this child need to live a somewhat normal. I say somewhat because that's just what we call normal, because that's what most of us do, right? But what will help this child to fit in more into society? We don't want them to fit in completely, but to an extent where it is comfortable for them to be around other people. So a good therapist would just look at it from that angle. That this child is autistic, we love the child the way the child is. We're just here to teach them different, nuances that would help them fit in more into this world that we're in. Okay, so number three, um, difference between a good and a bad therapist is, okay, so aside from the fact that they don't even let you in the room when you're doing therapy, another thing is they don't even teach therapy. Like, it's one thing to even let you in the room, but I think a bad therapist maybe let you in the room or not let you in the room, like in the first example. But a good therapist, and then a bad therapist will, even if they let you in the room, they don't tell you what's going on. They don't explain it to you. I think what a good therapist will do is not only would they let you in the room, but they would actually tell you what they are doing. Like they would share the progress with you, press reports, and the goals with you. They will tell you what goals they've written down and what goals they hope to achieve in so amount of time. Or even if they don't give you time because they're still learning your child and they don't know how much time it will take, but they are telling you the goals that they hope to achieve, and they're teaching you the method that they are using to achieve those goals, because they want you to carry on with those methods when they leave. And some of them would actually, even though this is annoying to me, like our therapists will have me write things down, like, okay, so when did he yell, what happened before he yelled, what happened after he yelled. I'm like, please, I don't have time, I don't have power. But a good therapist wants to know all that, because it helps in the whole therapy process. It helps them understand the child more. It helps you, the parent, understand the child more. Okay, but they don't have to do all that. They should just stress the parents. We're already stressed. But a good therapist will teach you the therapy method that they're using and what they would like you to do even after they're gone. Number four difference between a good and a bad therapist is they don't make it fun for your child. Okay. If your therapist just comes in and is all serious and just wants to teach your child, the methods and different things, and they don't even incorporate play or fun things or find out what your child likes to do for fun so that they can do it with your child, then that is a bad therapist. Okay. And maybe that's why some people hate the idea of ABA therapy, because some of those people are just like straightforward. They're not having fun with the kids, and the kids don't even like having therapy. Like Williams likes to have therapy because his therapist is fun, so he enjoys therapy. But if your child is not enjoying therapy, it's because that therapist is not making it fun. A good therapist will always make it funny. Like the first few sessions will be like you're wasting your money if you're paying for therapy. It will be like you're wasting your money because, I mean, if you're paying out of pocket, because the therapist just wants to have fun, find out what your child likes to do for fun, and do that with them for a few sessions, just to get your child to, get that, bring down their guards and be more comfortable with the therapist. That beginning, that beginning strategy where they just have fun with the child is very, very important, because it lets your child to just get comfortable with that therapist and lets your child be more open to the therapy that they're about to receive. And number five difference between a good therapist and a bad therapist is they do not like kids. Okay, this, I think this one goes without saying, but you probably will not know this unless you observe the therapist. Okay, so which again is why you should be in the room when your child is getting therapy. At least in the first few sessions, you want to be in the room, and over time, you always want to be in the room, not throughout therapy, but you have to be in the room to actually see how they're doing it. That's how you learn as a parent, because you are your child's like biggest and most hands-on therapist. Okay, even if your therapist is in the house working 3 hours, your child is going to be with you for the rest of the day, so you're the one who's going to impact more into your child at the end of the day. So if you observe your therapist and they don't really like it, they're just doing it for the job, then you want to change that therapist. Okay, you want someone who likes working with kids, because kids are they're a different breed. Like you need to you need to like kids from a deep level for you to be able to work with children. So if you observe that your therapist doesn't really like kids and they're just doing it for the job, then change your therapist or change your therapy company altogether. Because a good therapist is someone who enjoys children, someone who understands that, you know, children need a lot of patience and a lot of fun and a lot of understanding in order to learn. Okay. Number six difference between a good therapist and a bad therapist is they do not watch your child during playtime. So in every therapy session, there should be playtimes, of course, because you don't want to overwhelm your child. So maybe they do a session for like 10 minutes and then they give 2 minutes playtime, or 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then they do 5 minutes playtime. So there's always playtime in between therapy sessions, right? But if during playtime your therapist is not ever, I'm not saying they have to do all the time, but if your therapist is not ever watching your child during playtime, maybe they're using that time to finish paperwork or they're on their phone and all of those things, then that is a bad therapist, in my opinion. Because a good therapist will take that time to actually observe how your child is playing and they would even write down how that child is playing and what they're noticing when the child is playing. Okay. I'm not saying that they can't take a break themselves and do paperwork or be on their phone when your child has their free time. They can, but not all the time. If every time that your child has their 5 minutes break or 10 minutes break, the therapist is busy on their phone or not ever watching your child, then I would say that that therapist is not a good therapist. That is a bad therapist. I don't like using the word bad, but you know, opposite of good is bad. So, now the last reason or the last difference, uh, the neurodivergent show. Well, you know what, guys, this is a very good show on YouTube. You're on Instagram too. Yes, that's true. So Instagram and YouTube, you guys watch the neurodivergent show. She always talks about autism and she always interviews people, and she's interviewed me before. So thank you so much for coming on my live and commenting. You said, well said, a therapist should find out what the child likes first. Or yes, that's true. So the last reason why, or the last difference between a good and a bad therapist, and again, the reason why I'm making this video is because I want parents to kind of see these differences and decide if they want to continue with that therapist. I don't want you to give up on therapy as a whole. I want you to give up on the therapist that is giving that therapy, because there's so many therapists out there that are awesome people and that will help your child to become better. That's what happened with us with Williams. We were lucky to have a lot of good therapists along the way. Maybe we had a few bad ones, I don't know, but we've had many therapists. And most of them were good people. Good people. They loved working with Williams, and Williams loved them working with him. So you want to change your therapist and your therapy company, if possible, before you give up on therapy. Okay. So that's why I'm giving you these differences. So the last difference between a good and a bad therapist is, oh yeah, the last difference, I couldn't read my own handwriting, I'm sorry, is that say during a therapy session, your child has a tantrum or your child becomes difficult and the therapist cannot handle it. Now, a bad therapist would say to you, and I've experienced this, that's why I said we had some bad therapists along the way. One time, Williams was having a tantrum with his therapist, and it was a dude, and the guy just said to me, I can't handle this. I can't do this. And I was like, wait, what? You can't handle it, then what am I supposed to do? I'm not a therapist. Like, and this was in the beginning stage of us getting therapy, right? So I didn't know what to look out for. I was just grateful to have any therapist come help me. But you know, if a therapist cannot handle what's going on with your child, a bad therapist would just give up on it or expect you, the parent, to do it. They forget that that's why they're there. You need help. If you didn't need help, they would not be there, right? So I think what a good therapist will do is, if they truly, truly cannot handle it, they will try to handle it themselves. They would. But if they truly, truly cannot, or maybe ask you for tips, like, what do you think would calm him down at this time? Maybe because they're just learning your child, right? They might ask you for help because you're the parent. They might ask you for tips, but then they want to implement that tip themselves. if it's something that they truly cannot handle, you will see them on the phone calling a supervisor or something, but they will try to handle it themselves. They will not just give up and leave it to you, the parent, to handle. Well, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope I have taught you something about the difference between a good and a bad therapist, so that you know what to look out for, and so that you don't give up too easily on therapy. Therapy is so important, whether it's speech or occupation or ABA. I root for ABA therapy. I do. If your child doesn't know how to speak, of course, speech therapy as well. If your child needs help with holding the spoon or pencil when they're writing in school, then they need occupational therapy as well. So any kind of therapy really helps, and I'm a strong advocate for therapy. And I would say, please look into these differences and decide for yourself if you want to keep that therapist or if you want to change them. But do not give up on therapy. Okay. Now, thank you so much, guys, for watching, and thank you for leaving me comments. The Neurodivergent Show, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.